Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brownstone. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle, and you're listening to Numbers Don't Lie, where you learn to get out your feelings so you can make the best decisions for yourself, your family, and your business. Today, guys, we are in more serious territory. I don't want to scare you, but we're talking about some things that really impact our daily lives, where you work, where you live, and where you play. In my world, in public health, that's called social determinants of health. But there are a lot of decisions that happen a lot of times that are based on emotions or from a place of tradition, and they're not always the best for us. We talk about that a lot on Numbers Don't Lie, and today is no different. We're going to be talking about, let me give you the title because I think you're going to really like this direction that we're going to talk about today. So it's called Fear and Resistance, the battle between data and the mind. Because a lot of times we feel a certain way, but it's not always the truth or what reality is showing us. So I have two very special guests that I've met maybe a year or two ago, and they're both phenomenal women. They both focus on the mind. One is a clinical psychologist, and the other one is a mindset coach. They know what they're talking about. They're fun. They're funny. They're personable, even though they're super smart people. Super personable, super relatable. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. So without further ado, welcome to the Numbers Don't Lie platform. Coach Jacqui, you know her. She's a neighbor in the Brownstone. Coach Jacqui, as well as Dr. Mel. Hey, ladies.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad that you joined me. You guys look beautiful, by the way.
So do you, Dr.
Thank
Michelle.
you.
Let's go.
Well, let's go ahead and get to those introductions. Let's start with you, Coach Jacqui.
Well, hey. I'm Coach Jacqui. And like Dr. Michelle said, I am here in the Brownstone. So what's up, family? Happy to be back. My name, well, again, Coach Jacqui, and I'm a money mindset coach. I help female entrepreneurs clear their money blocks, truly cure their generational wealth curses so they can attract the money and get to the bag, honey. Okay. I am an EFT practitioner, an NLP practitioner, and a hypnosis practitioner. Honey, I'm just all things change your mind, change your life.
I love that. So real quick, before I go to Dr. Mel, I know you say you're money mindset coach, but you mentioned all these other fancy things that I know nothing about. So
Yes.
could you just tell us really quickly, like, are you solely just about money, or is a mindset thing like, no, like we can talk about mindset, anything all day?
I can talk about mindset, all things all day. I love the fact that Dr. Mel is a clinical psychologist. I got my degree in psychology. So I just love the brain. I love just figuring out how the brain shows up when it comes to your behavior. And when it comes to all of my titles, EFT, emotional freedom technique. It's a technique you can use to clear out the negative energy. So, everything I'm about has to do with the brain and how to get your brain to show up for you in a way where your behavior is doing the things you want to see happen in your life. So yes, all things mindset, hunty, all of them.
Okay. Look, I just had to let the people know, even though you focus on money, you know what you're talking about, period.
Yes, period.
So Dr. Mel, let's tell the people about you.
Sure. Hello. I love being on the screen with all this beautiful melanin popping, by the way. And it's really nice to be in space with Coach Jacqui and Dr. Michelle. My name is Dr. Mel. I'm a clinical psychologist and a badassery advocate. I love helping women who are feeling stuck and underwhelmed with where they are right now in life let go of oppressive societal norms, unleash their inner badass, and confidently rewrite their own narrative. So I am really about dismantling and deconstructing all of these so-called rules in society that we've been following blindly, but we don't even know why we follow them anymore. And they keep us stuck, and they keep us feeling sometimes really bad about ourselves. But if we can actually put some thought to why we're doing what we're doing, you're able to break free from them and then live life in a way that actually feels good for you. So that is where I land and how I help women find their badass.
That is right on top. When those last like 2 lines, I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect to what we're talking about. See, I got the right people, y'all, because it's like y'all understanding why we do what we do so we can make different decisions, because everything doesn't always serve us. And we just do things out of tradition, out of just, we've always done this, or this is how what society is telling me to do. But I'm like, is that really the best for you? So, anywho, I just want to read this really quickly to kind of kick off our conversation. We're going to get into our questions. And those that are listening, feel free to drop in your questions or write it in. We want to hear from you as well, because if this is resonating with you, we want to make sure that we're hitting the right audience and giving you exactly what you're looking for and what you need. So, on my earlier podcast, we were really just talking about data and what the data is showing, how what we see in society doesn't always reflect. Just the same way some people vote against their own interests every single election cycle. It's like that, but it's those things that are kind of stuck in our mind. What we can call them propaganda or whatever, those things may be. So let me just start here and we'll let the conversation go. So this is an article in The Guardian. This was posted in 2022. And I remember it when it came out. I always remember, it never left me. It said, it cited, so McKinsey Research Institute cited that it shows companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on executive teams were 25% more likely to have above average profitability than companies in the bottom, while companies with more than 30% executives were more likely to outperform companies that don't. So what I heard was, when you have gender diversity, and a lot of times it's diversity in general, but this was article specifically talking about gender diversity, you can have a more profitable company. And then they go into more detail and say, but only 8 women, but no women of color are currently employed as CEOs in like those like the S&P 500, like in those top 100 companies. Women only hold 14% of executive directorships and 38% of all directorships. So even though the data is saying it's good if you have women on your executive leadership as CEOs, help you make those decisions, that's not what's happening in real life. Like, a lot of companies are not making that move. So I really just want to start there. Like, why do people resist those changes when it could be for the better? Oh, anyone can start.
So yes, so change in general is really hard for people, especially as we get older. When we're young, our brains are still so much more open to change because what's going on in our brain is still forming. But usually around, like the science says, like 26, 27, usually your brain, the synapses and all the wiring that's happening in your brain is usually solidified. So then change post that is just more challenging because your brain isn't used to it. So I think that's one of the things, right? We get really resistant to change because our brain doesn't know how to conceptualize, wait, you want me to do something different. And then I think the second piece of it is just fear around change, right? We can look at that data that says, hey, if we have more gender diversity, our company's going to perform better. But it's like, but then what will that mean if there is more gender diversity in my company? Like, they can do it over there, but in our company, what is that going to look like? What does that mean for me? Who's not going to be in control anymore? Who might get ousted because now we're putting more women in charge, right? So there's so much fear that it's like, let's just keep doing it the way we know how to do it, because then nothing bad can happen.
Yes. I love that you said that, Dr. Mel. Really the internal change that we all have to experience, it starts from within. And so when you start telling me I have to change, I'm looking like, wait a minute. Like you were saying, who's going to have to get ousted? And, what will I have to now do different? They're not looking at the numbers perspective of how this can help me, but it's more of that internal, how is my company going to have to change? And that's what, Bob Proctor says, people don't resist change, right? They just resist the actual, what you got to go through to change. And it's easier to go back to the status quo. It's easier to stay where you're at and do what you've always been doing. That's easier. But what do I have to do in order for this change to come about? Oh man, now I got to actually change my behavior or change my staff or change this. That internal change is what people are more resisting, I think. The numbers can tell you all day, oh, this is going to be a fabulous thing. But at the end of the day, what are all the things I got to go through to make that actually happen? Right? Like when we're losing weight. I want to lose weight. They can want to lose weight all day. What does losing weight get me? Oh, well, now I'm going to have a better health. I'm going to be able to, move and get down on the floor with my grandbabies. But why do people not do it? Because I got to work out, because I got to eat different.
Yeah.
These are all the
Right.
internal things that I physically have to go through. And that is what they're resisting, not necessarily the change.
That's so
Coach Jacqui, you made
interesting.
me.
Go
I
ahead.
just want to add something real quick. You made me think about this when you were talking. Like, so people aren't actually resisting change. People are resisting discomfort, right? Like
1000%.
they, right? Like that's really what it is. It's like I actually don't want to be uncomfortable. So I'll resist. That's what the resistance is about. If the change could be easy, right? Like if it was like instead of having like a 2021, you know, car, I'm gonna gift you a 2024. Sure, I'll take that change.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
not? Go ahead. Let's go change my. That's gonna be wonderful. But if it's
Right.
like the change is like now you have to drive a smaller car that like has more gas mileage and like but you can keep this old car that's kind of broken down but it's cuter. It's like that's gonna be uncomfortable. I don't like how that's gonna make me feel. I'll be over here. So it's really like the discomfort they're resisting.
Pew, 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 pew. That's so good. Because I guess that's why I need people like you around, because I'm just like, I don't get it. And that does make sense because and even when we think about people in the financial world, like we're talking about, you have to make some changes to see these things. So I guess for me, it's like, at what point do your values start to come in to say, like, I'll go off your examples, Coach Jack, when you said, you think about changing your health because I want to see my grandchildren grow up. I want to do this. I want to be able to go places and travel. Especially that family piece. Seeing, like, I think I saw a story. It was an overweight man, and he ended up having smaller children. And he was like, I want to be able to play with them. And so that was his motivation to change. And so it's like, at what point do our values kind of kick in to say, well, I value this. This is important to me. So this has to at some point be more important than the discomfort.
That's a good one.
That's a heavy question. I'm sorry.
It is. No, it is. I would say where it comes in, where people actually decide to change, is when they acknowledge the fact that the change is needed. So it's kind of like that initial acknowledgement. A lot of us are just, yeah, lose weight, blah, blah, blah. But it's not until your health really takes a hit. Right. And now you're acknowledging like, oh man, okay, so I really need to do something different. And even if you keep continuing, right, let's talk about folk, because I'm relating it to health, but just because it's something relatable, people can understand. But the reality of it is, people know they have diabetes, right? But they keep eating bad. And then they end up on dialysis, and it's like, oh, now I need to eat different, right? Like it just gets to a point where you get to the point you acknowledge, okay, this change really needs to happen. And then you decide. The moment that you make a decision to change is the moment that all change starts to happen from within. But it takes that initial decision, the deciding. These companies are doing fine, right? But allow them to have somebody else do way better than them. Don't let their competition outshine them. And all of a sudden you see the competition has, female executives at the top looking all different colors, all different kinds of people. And you over here like, well, dang, they are 10 times, 20 times my current revenue. Now it's, oh, maybe we should change, because now we have something that's kind of forcing the change. No offense, change has to be forced. You got to get uncomfortable enough to want to change.
Hold on real quick, y'all. This is good. We're going to come right back. Pick up where we left off. Did you know that data-driven organizations were 19 times more profitable? 19. You heard me right. Perhaps you're asking, what is data-driven and how do I become one of those organizations? I'm so glad you asked. I want you to go take a quiz. It's a simple, quick quiz to help you assess if you are in fact one of those organizations. Head over to mogulbeginnings.com/data into dollars quiz now. That's mogulbeginnings.com. You can just go to mogulbeginnings.com and it'll show you the data into dollars quiz. Take it now. You'll see if you're on your way to 19xing your profitability. You're listening to Numbers Don't Lie on KCCR Cityscape. We hope you're enjoying the tunes and all the jams. Make sure you visit our website over at brownstoneworldwide.com to learn about all things Brownstone. You can check out Brownstone Living Magazine and all the great things that we have on the website, as well as the shop. You just got to head over to the website, brownstoneworldwide.com. Awesome. That was good, Jacqui. That was a great points. I love what you were saying. Dr. Mill, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I agree with Jacqui, right? Like there has to be intentionality, right? A decision and intentionality around I actually want to change. There also has to be, because I'm going to go back to the health example because I love that one, right? And so many people will say, I have this goal and they want to get to it, right? I want to lose weight, I want to be healthier. But it requires intentionality. It requires often doing something that is going to be uncomfortable. So maybe you do got to get up earlier every morning to be able to get that workout in. You do need to spend 2 hours or 3 hours on your Sunday when you'd rather be brunching with your friends, but you got to take those 3 hours to meal prep, right? Those are the things that people don't necessarily want to make sacrifices around in order for the change to happen. And so if there, yes, you have to decide to change, and I completely agree with that. And I think you have to decide that I'm going to have to do some things that maybe don't feel comfortable at first. They might get there, right? Eventually. But overall, I think when you start something new, it's awkward, it's clunky. It's like, I really want to go back to the thing that like I knew and that felt smoother, right? But then eventually the more you do it, it does ease, right? Like it becomes work, but people don't want to go through that kind of baby duckling early awkward stage. Folks like hate that.
The baby duckling awkward. That's so funny because it reminded me of when people first. You remember the early lock journey when
Yes, I
everybody
was going to
started
talk
off
about
with
the
the
hair.
ugly phase. And I'm sorry to all the lock people out there, but it's that baby phase, and it's like most people wasn't really comfortable with their face like that. But I have to go through this very short lock phase.
Yes.
Now people not even starting short anymore. It's just let me go ahead and get these things just interlock into my hair, and I have locks tomorrow to my shoulders. So
Yes.
that's what it reminds. But it was like avoiding that uncomfortability. It's just like I don't like that phase. I'm just gonna pick up. That's what it reminded me of.
Hilarious.
It's true though.
It is so true.
Yeah.
So I think I may come back to that question. It's gonna fit in probably this next one. So this is what I want to ask next. So now that we know that it's more about the uncomfortability, like we can recognize that change is good. Unfortunately, we have to be forced into that, and that happens a lot. I'm an epidemiologist by training. In public health, we see that all the time. Like I actually have an uncle, Coach Jacqui, that has diabetes, that is currently undergoing dialysis 3 times a week. And I promise you, he still said this. I don't, what do you say? I don't like vegetables. Still, sir, live your life. Live your life however you want to live it. So we see you have to be forced into change, and some people still don't want to change. Some people still want to eat their chitlins, whatever. But what strategies do you guys suggest? So like, how can we really start to cultivate open-mindedness of like, change is good. It's okay to try something new. It's okay to experience a little bit of discomfort for something better.
Oh man.
Strategies.
Or maybe just like what's like a something people, look, since it's change, something very simple.
Yeah. So I actually do think things have to be simple. That's part of it, right? I often talk to people about like if you want to build confidence, right, you have to start with it on a very small scale, right? People are like, but I want to get out on the stage and do a whole TED talk in all front of these people, but I am so scared to speak to folks, like to do public speaking. I was like, you're not gonna start on the TED talk stage then, dude. Like that's rough, right? So we got to do a little bit every day so we experience a sense of mastery that allows us to keep going. So I think change is the same. That change little things in your life first, right? Again, I'm going to go back to the health tip because I like that one. I'm always going to talk about health and fitness too, but like, instead of being like, I am going no carb and
Yeah.
that's it, I'm gonna lose weight, because I'm like, all right, slow your roll, because you go miss your carbs, right? So maybe just swap out one snack a day. So that one time where you decide you're gonna reach for that small bag of chips for your midday snack, this time just make sure you've got some strawberries in the fridge and try it once. And if you get through that day, reward yourself, right? Like, note it that, hey, I did something different today and I made it. Like, I really wanted my chips at first. Those strawberries were actually kind of delicious. And I
Mhm.
think the more you can do that, little tiny things, then when big change comes up, it's like, I know this is not going to be great at first, but I'm going to be really happy that I ate the strawberries, right? I don't
Yeah.
know anybody who says, I had fruit today and I'm really mad that I had that fruit, right? Like, you're actually happy that you made a better choice, right? So I think, yes, I'm all about like little itty bitty changes that you can make in your day, so that again, when a big change comes up, you feel more like you have the ability to go through it.
I
Oh
like that.
yes, I like that. I really like that. And actually, what I'm gonna say piggybacks on what you're saying, Dr. Mel, is those little changes. Again, mastery. Mastery comes from doing it a little bit every day to master it. And anything that we are
Mm-hmm.
trying to come anew in, whether it be corporates changing their business structure, right? Whatever we're going to become anew in, we have to understand that our mindset is already set at a thermostatic temperature, right? Just like if you were going to come in your house and you're going to set the temperature for 70 degrees, if it gets hotter in there, your house is going to cool it down. If it gets cooler in there, your house is going to heat it up to bring it back up to that same
Mm-hmm.
temperature. That's what your mind is doing. So anytime that you want to change the temperature, right? You got to remember your your mind is going to want to go back to that same thermostat, that same thing it's always done. It's been programmed to do this thing. Whether it's losing weight, whether it's changing things, anything that you're changing, you've been programmed to do it this way this whole time. So if I'm going to come in and I got to change something new, I got to remember to give myself grace, because I'm always going to want to go back to that 70 degrees. I'm always going to want to go
Mm-hmm.
back to eating them cookies and that candy. Right? I'm always going to go back to the
Mm-hmm.
way things have always been done. You ever been on a job with somebody and then some changes happen on the business and they start talking about, well, it used to be done like this. And that's all they can talk about. But we used to do it like this. No matter how much you try to change it, they keep talking about what it used to be like, right? But the thing about it is, in order for us to have real lasting change, we're going to have to go through a couple of, oh, I'm so used to, but let me make sure I do it like this. Oh, I'm so used to, but you intentionally have to put the
Mm-hmm.
effort in, because any habit is something you do unconsciously. But how does it
Mm-hmm.
become a habit? You have intentionally put it there over and over again for it to become one. So yeah, I would just say give yourself understanding. Understand that I'm going to want to go back to the way things were, but remind yourself we not doing that no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that I understand I want to go back. Tell yourself, I get it. I get it, self. We always gonna want to go back. That's okay, baby. But we doing something different now. It's just a reminder. And it's gonna have to be intentional and constant. But give yourself grace when you go back. It's gonna be natural, but you gotta pick your tail back up and move forward for the change.
That's
Mm-hmm.
good.
I agree.
So I feel like, that was good general knowledge and good practical things we can do. Because I made made a post about that recently. Because he would compliment on my white teeth, and I was like, I didn't notice that what I was doing was working until people started complimenting me. But it was like I've been doing this for a long time, so now it's a part of my routine. So every night I brush with my charcoal paste. It's part of my bedtime routine now. But it was a small change done consistently. And I think we can, for the most part, we can relate to that in health and just our everyday life. But what about when
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about like true diversity, and we talking about the landscape of the United States is shifting as far as racial demographic. And more we see more pushback. like the resistance to diversity, even though for business it's good, even though for education it's shown to be good. Like they don't want to teach Black history, true Black history. They want to resist affirmative action. They want to get rid of all DEI efforts, all these things. It's just like, how do we even, and this may have to be another episode, but like, how do you start to tap into something that's so ingrained into us? And it could be like, racism, but there are other things that are ingrained in our families and our things that, like, a lot of times we're just like sometimes unaware that's even there. I feel like I said a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So take it how you will.
Mm-hmm.
That was deep for me. Mm-hmm. I'm over here like, man, now we're talking about generational mindset. For me, we start with ourselves. A lot of the things going on in today's world, how they want to get rid of so many things. Imagine if you, in your mind, remind yourself of your power. Remind yourself that I can sit up here and do anything and everything, even if they say I can't, right? Even they say, oh, this job ain't for you. I'm gonna put it to you like this. If you in your mind know without a shadow of a doubt that you belong there, there will be nothing that will stop you from being there, even affirmative action. So it's just kind of like, because, there's so many things that came up for me, right? Because it's like when a door closes, 5,000 windows open. Like, we keep getting so stuck on our limitations. We're not tapping into the power of how we're limitless. We're limitless in our thoughts. We're limitless in our words. We're limitless in the way that we feel about ourselves. So we have to quit giving our power away, I feel, to others, because society is going to say a whole bunch of stuff about us. They ain't going to stop.
They been.
They been. So let me change my narrative. I don't have to choose their narrative. I can choose my own. I can literally say any job that I apply for is already mine because I am who I am. And even the ones that deny me and say that they don't want me, there is 10 jobs who appreciate my diversity, who appreciate my thought, who appreciate my vigor. Because I'm going to tell you right now, they think Black women come in the room and they always think we fussing. I want somebody to know I'm not fussing and what I'm saying matters, right? So those are the jobs I want. I don't want the jobs who are worried about my diversity. You noticing I'm Black more than me. I'm going to put it to you like this, okay? I don't wake up and run down the street and every day I'm trying to remind everybody I'm Black. This is how I am every day. I don't wake up as a reminder to it. So I don't need you to remind me. So if this is a job that is going to remind me constantly of who I am, I'm going to let you know right now, I can show up and be who I am in a company who appreciates and loves and supports it. So I don't know. That was a deep question, Dr. Michelle. I got a lot too much going on in my mind.
They be going through my mind all the time. But I forgot that Coach Jacqui doesn't play with how you identify and what you say to yourself. So let me do some fire emojis. Dr. Mill, do you have anything to add? I know. She just shut me down. I'm like, ooh.
I know. I was like, no, I think Coach Jacqui said it beautifully, right? Like, it is really about, we cannot change everybody in the world.
Right.
And there are definitely people who are always going to be super resistant to changing anything, again, because of that fear of what they will lose, what power they might have to give up if we actually implement a change. So we have to make sure that as individuals, we are also, because, the law and all these things are saying, let's get rid of no diversity, no DEI. Certain states are like, you can't do this, you can't do that. Those are probably not the places where we belong. That's actually not where I'm going to put my effort in order to be part of the change, right? There's a really amazing author and activist, Bettina Love, right? Dr. Bettina Love. And she speaks on abolitionist education, right? And she wrote a book called We Need to Do More Than Survive. And she talks about when it comes to individuals, she kind of puts people in three categories. Ones are like the people who are always going to be all in with you. They're ready for change. They're ready to implement it. They're there, right? The threes are the folks who are like, I don't want nothing to do with your change efforts, your diversity efforts. Like, get out of here with that there's racism in the world. Something's wrong with you. And then the twos are folks that are like, They're on the fence. They could go either way, right? They could hear and be educated enough to understand why diversity is important or why any particular issue is important, or they could be swayed the other way. And she says, when we're trying to make change, we need to focus on the twos. The ones are already in it with you. The threes, probably not going to be able to do too much with them. But the twos, there's a lot of effort and energy you could put in there to make change. For me, that's where I would tell you to go, right? Go to those organizations where, yes, you can be at one type organizations where there's going to be a lot of diversity, but you could probably make more impact at the two type in organizations, because those are the ones who are like, I could see how diversity is important, but like I don't really know how that fits into our company culture, but I'm open to the discussion. That's where you want to be. So I would say, if you want to think about how to make the change, find and work and collaborate with and consult with. You don't even have to be on somebody's payroll full time. Be the consultant at the organization that is a two that wants to make this kind of change.
That was so good. I love that. And now I hate that our time is up. This was so good. I'm gonna have to work y'all back in because this was fantastic. Because we all do have on the scale somewhere. So that was phenomenal. Ladies, can you please tell us, and Dr. Mo, you can start, how people can connect with you to learn more about your brilliance. We're just talking about how we like your TikTok. So tell us where we can find you.
Absolutely. All of my social, you can find me on most platforms. I'm the most on Instagram and TikTok, but it's I am Dr. Mel. So IAMDRMEL on all social media. And come find me, connect. Let's chat.
Awesome. Yeah. And what about you, Coach Jacqui?
Yes, you can find me on social media at The Pursuit to Happy. I believe that we are all on the Pursuit to Happy daily. So we're The Pursuit to Happy on Instagram. I'm at The Pursuit to Happy on TikTok. And if you're on LinkedIn, find Coach Jacqui, baby. I'm Coach Jacqui on LinkedIn.
And guys, you can connect me with on all things Mogul Beginnings. That's MOGUL, Mogul Beginnings, mogulbeginnings.com, all the social medias, all those things. And don't forget to check us out on the Brownstone as well, brownstoneworldwide.com. You can find more articles and more podcasters like Coach Jacqui as well up there. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me. This was so good. I hope the listeners I know they got a lot of value out of it, and they can start to identify that one thing they can start to do to make themselves more open to change. Girls, have a great rest of your day. And so and so will you, listeners. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.